We get Mr. Murley from Budapest. Mr. Murley, say hello.
Greetings,
Uh, Mr. Brennan. And it's the,
Jonathan.
hey, Brennan, it's the world famous Regina.
Hello.
Oh, hello. All right. Come on, feel free to come on and say hello. All right, let's drop in the chat uh, where you're at located here today, if you would, in the chat. And give me a 1 to 10, where do you see yourself in terms of implementing AI in useful ways in your business? One being, what is AI? I have no idea. And 10 being, I'm a top level expert. 1 to 10, where are you at? And if you're addicted, put addicted. All right. So next, let's put in the chat, if you would, as we're warming up here. How many nights have you stayed up all night working with AI once you got exposed to AI? But it has to be a full night. Like you completely miss sleep. Just put 1 night, 2 nights, 0 nights. This is going to tell me where you're at. Oh, Scott, zero. All right. All right, none. Wow, Craig Murley, I'm surprised. None, none. Jada, none. All right, Jen. All right, four, Ted. Good job. All right, you and me are probably there. You meant 4-0, right? Perfect. We're going to jump in. Our sessions are designed to say, Latoya, all right. These are designed to stand on their own in the sense of really moving yourself forward in your comfortability utilizing AI. You hear terms like agents, agentic swarms, and all sorts of terminology designed to sort of sound intimidating and make people seem really smart. And here's the thing you're going to learn really quickly is that if you dip your toe into AI, most of you have probably used ChatGPT, you've used Claude, there's the little interface where you chat. And the secret is you can ask that chat anything and it'll explain to you exactly how to do it. And it's almost impossible to break anything real. So you can ignore 90% of the hype that's out there and really just get in. And if you can have the mindset of a child where you're curious and you're learning, you're going to get better. I think two things are really important when you're thinking about AI. One is, yes, it can do a lot of cool things, right? Like most of you have probably created a poster of yourself or followed a trend online. But what's really important is how do I take the thing that AI has enabled me to do faster, cheaper, better, and connect it to real business value. Because otherwise, it's sort of a cheap parlor trick. It's entertaining. It might even feel like magic. But for those of us that are on this webinar, it's about how do we create real business value, right? How do we connect it to help us perform better for our clients, produce in a better way, or reduce the stress in our life as we do those things. So we're always going to have that mindset when it comes to how do we utilize AI tools. And the second is to continue to have curiosity about how things work. The third thing that I think is really important if you're going to that you're going to thrive in this era of AI is the ability to hold a pattern, to be curious about how bits and pieces fit together, right? So if you think about AI like dominoes, and if you were on our, or Legos rather, if you were, dominoes would be a completely different thing, but Legos, right? Blocks. If you can think of AI just as blocks that fit together, each block designed to do something differently, you can have that mindset of play and how do I build things? Because you're going to find a bunch of different tools that are each purpose built to do one thing. As an example, a large language model is designed to reason in language really well. You have video models, you have mathematical models, you have agents that are designed right around doing art. All of those are just a Lego block. And with those Lego blocks, you can build almost anything. Now, if you were a child and you played with Legos, probably the first time you put together a set of Legos, you followed the instructions. It was a little slow. You found the little number one and two, and you lined up that block to make sure you had the exact right one. You pushed it into place, and when you got done, you compared what you had to the image that you had on the paper. But what happened after you spent some time playing with Legos? And if you didn't play with Legos, imagine whatever else it is you played with. Eventually, you had the ability to just imagine something and go, oh, that block, that tire, I'll use that. And that tire this time can serve this purpose. That's how you're going to get with AI tools. So, how do you keep from getting overwhelmed with all the daily news about AI? It's simple. Once you have a tool that works for the thing you need it to do, stick with that tool and stay curious about some of the other tools. As an example, if you have a large language model that's working for you, spend your time there. You don't have to chase every single model that comes out. If you have a video model that you're using for advertising or other things, stick with that video model, play with that, and just get real business value. Now, occasionally, you want to lift your head up and you want to try the next new thing. In the world of AI, you never want to get completely married to one tool. This is the one area where being monogamous does not really pay dividends. You can play the field, you can date around, try things out. You're going to find the scene changes and something might serve you better. And if you've built it like Lego blocks, you can simply unplug the thing that no longer serves you, plug the next thing in, and continue to get business value. So today we're going to talk about one thing specifically. We're going to talk about my digital assistant. And my digital assistant, I have named her Vera, and I don't know where everybody went to. I'm going to get you up here on the screen. Vera, we're going to talk about Vera, and we're going to show you how to build your own assistant that can do all sorts of things for you. I'm going to show you live how we did it. If you were here at our last session, you already know many of the pieces to be able to do this. But maybe for you, AI gave you a new job. Have you found yourself sitting, prompting AI, waiting for something, having to look at it, making a decision, intervening? It's even popular now to find people that are sitting around in waiting rooms with their laptop cracked open because they're waiting for something to process. They don't want to shut it, right? Because it's in the middle of a job that they want done. That's how many people are finding AI is. And what we want to allow you to do is to actually not just have a chat with AI. We want you to be able to give AI a task and have it be able to do it consistently. So think of it in terms of hiring your AI, not just chatting with it. So what does every hire need? It needs three things always. Just like if you hired a human, you got to give it a job description, you got to give it the tools to do the work, and you got to give it a schedule. So we're going to talk specifically about how to create a virtual assistant that can do many of the things in your business. In our business, we have Vera. This is what Vera looks like. I'll play a short video of Vera. She actually creates her own videos.
Hi, I'm Vera. While Jonathan Wistman sleeps, I run his business. I triage his inbox, guard his calendar, and brief him at 4:30 a.m. before his feet hit the floor. I also post my own workouts. I'm a full-service hire. Here's the reckless part. He wrote down exactly how he built me, every step. The tools, the wiring, the actual instructions he gave me. 10 steps. And he's giving it away. Free, which is bold. I'm kind of the secret sauce here. But that's the sales boss for you. He'd rather you build your own. Want one like me? Follow me, then comment Vera, and I'll send you the build guide myself. Obviously.
All right, so all of you got the build guide in your email, and we're going to walk you through it step by step. I want to show you some of the things that Vera can do. We're in my company Slack channel, so that's sort of dangerous. So don't pay attention to any of our confidential things. But let's see if I go to, of course, it wouldn't be here. If I go to the build, why isn't it coming up? Oh, there we go. So we have a Slack channel called The Build. This is our company fitness challenge. So everybody gets 10 points a day. It's a combination of did they eat right? Did they have their exercise met? Did they get their sleep, their hydration? So you can see that these are the check-in posts over the last few days, right? So everybody's checking in, got our food, our fitness, everybody's making their progress. And what you're also going to notice, am I in the actual bit? There we go. Now you notice Vera also posts in here. So this is her spin class selfie. Uh, she'll comment on other participants. So in this case, she says a big shout out to Manel Joy for showing up while under the weather. That's energy that fuels the whole channel. You can see uh, my whole team that's on her is like, hey, I didn't know you were going to put us on Front Street here. So I'm going to go quickly so I don't show everybody off. Uh, but let's see. Here she is, again, another picture of her, always a different picture. Caught some serious movement endorphins out there. The outdoor air hits different today. Honestly, I think my processors run cooler in the fresh breeze. Seeing this channel stoked with 10 shout outs. Jonathan Wisman doing push ups, stops mid road trip. So she's aware of what's happening in the company, both through email, through our Slack channels. She's tied into the communications, and I've given her memory. So she remembers how other people in the company treat her. So if you treat her, with humor, she's going to treat you with humor. If you have sarcasm, she's going to treat you with sarcasm. And um, we're gonna we're gonna show you exactly how to do something like this. So this is our lobby. This is where in the morning everyone checks in. It's sort of the virtual office for us. But here you see Vera. Morning, wonderful humans. Shout out to Raphael for wrangling that outage. That kind of calm, steady problem solving is exactly what makes this team great. And 2,100 invite links versus 70 slots a week. That's a puzzle Who Hire was basically born to solve. So you can see commenting on what's happening. What's interesting is when it gets towards the end of the month, Vera starts understanding what's happening. She encourages people to hit their sales targets, which I love
Hi, I'm
that.
Vera.
Whoops, let's
While
stop
Jonathan
there. But that's the sort of thing that she's doing, and we're going to show you how to do that. So again, when you start thinking about building something like Vera, you have the basic components you need to think about. One is the skills. That's the job description. It's your SOP. You're going to write it in plain English. And I want you to think about Vera, and I'm just going to continue to refer to my assistant as Vera. You want to tell Vera exactly how you do things. So, as an example, when I give Vera access to my email, I have to tell Vera, here's what I want you to do with my emails. I want you to split them in these three categories. This sort of category, I want you to respond to this way. This sort of category, I want you to just draft a response for. And this third category, handle another way. You're going to be super specific and you're going to put training wheels on. So, as an example, when I hired my first real human assistant, I trained her just the same way. I said, hey, get in my email inbox. I want you to start triaging my inbox and I just want you to draft responses. And then I want you to check with me and I'll say whether you got it right or didn't get it right. And it was after she could get about 80% of things right that I started letting my real human assistant respond on my behalf. Because to me, the 20% that's not quite right, I would have done a little different, wasn't worth having the responsibility of being in my inbox every day. So now I give that to Vera, and Vera can handle that on a day in and day out basis. So you're going to treat teaching the skills just like that. So one of the things that you can do for skills is you can go to Google or whatever search engine you're using, And you can simply type in, give me AI skills. And there's a ton of marketplaces out there where you can find pre-written skills that you can download and you can drop right into your AI of choice. And it's literally, if you see a file that says .md, MD like Mary Davis, that's a skill file. It stands for Markdown. It's just words, just like when you think about a Google Doc and you have a .doc or doc, you open that and you can read it. A .md file is exactly like that, a Word document that's simply designed to drop into any single uh, 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 chat app. So as an example, if I'm over here in um, what am I in? Claude. If I'm in Claude, I can literally just down here at the bottom drop that file in, or I can open it up here, add files or photos, and I can just drop that MD file directly in. So it's really as simple as that. Go out and look for files that other people have already built. So you're going to have skills. Then the next, you're going to have connectors. These are all of the tools that you would need an employee to use: email, Slack, your calendar, your CRM, your meeting records. Now, we talked about last week that you can do many of those right inside of the system. So, as an example, I'm in Claude here. You notice the plus. I can go add and I can go to plugins or connectors, and you can see all of those connectors there. And if I went to manage connectors, I could simply type in the one that I want to access. And most of the time, there's going to be a system to connect to that. So that's what I'm going to do when I start giving Vera access to my email. Now, here's something to be aware of. As I give Vera skills and connectors, if I just give it inside of my Chat GPT or my Perplexity or my Claude, the problem is she can only act on my behalf as long as my computer's up and operating. And that doesn't work for most executives. So I'm going to teach you how to do what I would call a level one Vera, which is you're going to build this access to your email, to Slack, to your calendar. You're just going to build that right inside of your AI. So right inside of Claude, right inside of Chat GPT, just like I'm building here. However, at some point, we're going to need to move that to the cloud, and we're going to have to move their access to the cloud. So even when your computer is closed, they can still access your Gmail account or your Outlook account. They can still access Slack, all of the other tools. So it's two phases. Get it working, practicing while your computer's open. When you close your computer, it goes to sleep. Your assistant is off shift, so to speak, can't act on your behalf. And then once you're satisfied that you can do that, you're going to do second level where you're going to move it to the cloud. All right. And then the third thing you always have to think about for everything that you give your virtual assistant something to do, you have to think about what is the schedule that you want things done at. So you have a couple of ways to do schedules inside of your Chat GPT or your Claude. It's super simple. You're going to always do these in code. That's the only place you're going to do it in. You're not going to do it in, any of the chat or the cowork. You're going to always use the code. And you can do that inside of this area here on the left called routines. Now, how do you start a routine? Super simple. You click on routines and you say, what do you want to automate? And you just talk to it like you would a real human. Now, the way I would accomplish that is you can do the same thing inside of this chat box here. When I'm working on something, you can see I'm on Vera EA, and I'm going to show you how I built her. You're literally just going to say right in this box, I'd like this to run every day at 4:30 Eastern, or I want it to run twice a day, or I want it to run every Sunday, or whatever the schedule is. Or you can also say when something changes. As an example, when you see my spreadsheet column A changes, then do this. So you're thinking about triggers. the key here is to think about training Vera the same way that you would train an assistant. Isn't it true if you hired somebody, you'd give them access to your Slack, your calendar, your Gmail, and you'd say, hey, do this at 4:30, and here's the quality I'd like done. You can take a lot of liberty here, no liberty there. Raise your hand, ask me questions before you do anything in this. And you're going to think about your AI in exactly the same way. So let's talk about some of the things that I've automated. How many of you spend a lot of time on calls like this, Zoom, uh, online meetings? If you're in online meetings, one of the automations that you can do is I have all of my meetings recorded through Fathom. And I have Vera go through and pull out every commitment I say out loud inside of my meeting, and I have her post it to my task board. I use Monday to do my tasks. So she automatically puts all of those on my task list so I don't forget about them. Now she also automatically creates email follow-ups for anything that I said I would email after the meeting, and it's already pre-drafted and it has the right things connected to it. I'm going to show you how to do that. And she also slacks me the to-do list after the meeting. Super powerful. So how does that happen? I have a trigger in my Claude, and this was my version 1 build. Now this all happens in the cloud, whether or not my computer's open. But my first build, I created a trigger. I said, have it happen at 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. I have her read all of the transcripts from Fathom so she can log into Fathom. She extracts using Claude what I promised, and then she logs it in Monday. So I've literally just connected my Fathom and Monday and Slack to Claude, and all of those you can connect really simply right through this plus button you see at the bottom, add connectors. So you can see all of those are in the side there. And once you connect them the first time, they stay connected. Every once in a while, you have to reconnect them. Now, that gets you phase 1, but it doesn't, it's not sufficient because you're going to want her to run when you're not there. Let me give you another example of what we do. Because she's already in Fathom, our entire company uses Fathom whenever they're doing a sales call. So she's going to watch every rep's demo recording, and she has listened to all of the demos that I've done, every sales call that I've done. And this automation compares every one of the sales team members' calls against the gold standard that I've talked. So she has access to my actual talk tracks, how I open a demo, how I handle the price objection, what a great discovery question sounds like. And every day she's reviewing a sales team. She's going to grade it against my standard, and then she's going to post a note to our sales channel. Let me see if I can see an example of that. Get to see me work live here. I don't go into that sales team channel. Here we go. So you can see this is automated. You can see she posted as me, but she identifies herself as AI Bossy Demo Coaching. And this is on the 5th and 6th. She's giving Brandon feedback. Brandon, your discovery is the strongest on the team right now, and it's not close. You asked 13 real diagnostic questions before you pitched William, 14 before George, 9 before Elise, and almost all of them before the slides ever came up. With George, you did the thing most reps skip. You built the value case out of his own numbers. So that's really great, right? Saying the positive thing, and then she's comparing it to what I would have done on the sales call. So she says, your one focus for the next demo, stop paying for the objection with price. George told you the truth. And it's quoting right out of the sales call. It's the investment of the amount, me putting that 37 up front. About a minute earlier, he had already said, I'm leaning towards doing it just to be straight, 100% straightforward with you. So you had a buying signal and a 400,000 value case sitting right there on the table, and you answered with, we're going to waive that knowing that you're in this building process. You gave away $1,800 setup fee to a man who is already leaning yes. Next time, and it gives a suggestion. I hear you, and $3,700 is real money while you're rebuilding. Here's what I keep coming back to you. You told me an A player brings you 2,500 to 3,000 a month. One of them pays for this month one. You're also putting $1,500 a month into Lincoln Heritage leads that are not producing what you want. So the question is not whether you can afford this, it's how much longer you're going to keep paying for people who do not stick. Let's start Pennsylvania, only improve it. Now, you see what the AI goes on to say why this is better and what to do on the next call. So there's an example of connecting real business value by using AI. Think about the time that it takes you as an owner just to listen to the calls that your salespeople make. If they're on sales calls 5 hours a day, does anybody on your leadership team have the time to go listen to 5 hours worth of demos and then get the feedback organized in your head and then sit down and have the meeting with the sales rep or type something out? All of that's handled. And I've built a module so that I see the feedback given to the salespeople and I consistently update and evaluate that feedback so that if the feedback starts getting off, it starts drifting, it comes back to the way that I would actually want that accomplished in my business. Super simple to build with the sort of things that I'm going to show you. So every demo gets coached. There's a trigger that fires after every demo day. It's going to pull the demo recording. It's going to grade that with the transcript in Claude, and then it's going to post it to Slack. And I just showed you that being done. The next thing that I have Vera doing is Monday's content. It's done on Sunday. So uh, Vera goes out, looks at the internet. It looks at all of the week's trends related to sales, hiring, and AI. Those are sort of the buckets that we live in. Vera has access to my book, The Sales Boss, my book, Unrecruitable, everything I've written, these calls that we're doing now. And so she's looking for things in the news that will help. She's going to write a trend with 5 content drafts, and then she's going to drop that in my Slack. This allows me on Monday to sort of have a framework for how I can start thinking about uh, organizing my content. So it's literally a trigger. It's firing Sunday at 4:54. Um, then it's going out and posting on. It's going to Metricool and posting and doing a trend scan there. Claude is writing that. It's assembling the Google Doc, and then it goes to Slack. Let me see if I can just find that really quick because I think it would be helpful. You see this channel, social trends. I get those every week. It opens in a Google Doc. There you go. And so you can see I'm getting this. It's not writing my content entirely for me, but it's allowing me to look at live things that are happening that would be relevant to me. I'm getting that before Sunday dinner. So I can I can read it after dinner. I can think about it. I wake up on Monday, I'm ready to go. So here's what you see happening that's related. I have these all defined. It has all of the numbers, and then it actually writes at the end a draft for LinkedIn, this one 680. And because I've trained Vera with my book, my writings, it can get really close to the way I would actually think about that topic. So I can go in, I can do light edits, and I can push that off and get it published. So those are another example of how you can utilize your assistant. So I showed you before, it's not a bot. Think of it as a teammate. I actually start liking to think about how do I get her integrated in with the company. So I showed you some of those like foam rolling or replying in an app. Let me show you how it works inside of our lobby channel. Where is our lobby channel? There we go. So, uh, Regina, do you have Slack open? Why don't you just type something in the Who Hire lobby and ask Vera so we can see, because she would respond differently to me. So,
Sure.
so I've set up, just ask her about my schedule for tomorrow. If there's time, you can get on my calendar. So Regina is my co-founder, and so Vera knows who she is. Are you typing?
Oh,
I don't see it. Just ask if you can get on my calendar. The She's going to treat Regina differently than she would treat someone else. So you see, Vera, what's Jonathan's schedule look like tomorrow? Can I get on his calendar? Immediately the eyeball comes up, right? So somebody knows Vera's awake, she's listening. There's going to be a little processing that happens. She goes out and looks at my calendar. Calendars being unresponsive, getting an authorization error. Okay, so that's why you don't want to do a live demo. So all this means is that there's a authorization for my API. I probably changed my password, and she just needs to be refreshed, right? So, but you can ask about the meeting, get it on my schedule. That's the way that happens. Normally, if that was working correctly, Vera would come back with the options in my schedule. She would offer to schedule it, and she would actually put it in my calendar, and Regina would get an invite for that meeting. So uh, we have really 8 functions that we've built inside one assistant. So think of each of these as separate functions that you're going to build. So I have Vera Agent, which does the inbox triage, my calendar, the briefing. I have a Slack agent, and this is where you hear the term agentic swarm. It just means, what are these agents doing? And I just think of these are part of the functionality I'm building into my assistant. So she has real-time DMs and mentions. So if somebody mentions her in Slack, not only will she respond, she's going to continue to look at that DM channel for a period of time in case somebody comes back to her with more information. She knows she's a part of the conversation. That's what this Vera DM watch is she's looking at my private direct messages to be able to know if there's something relevant that she should be responding to. She does my appointment finalizer. She also handles text messaging for me. I have it set up for my iMessage. She has her own phone number, so she can text. You can text her just like you would a real assistant. She responds. She can be in a group thread with me. I've built a team spirit. So there's some encouragement that she's designed to get. So she goes out and she's teaching herself best leadership practices. I'm having her teach herself that. I've subscribed to these are the kinds of books and approaches that I have as a leader in my organization that I would want any of my managers to follow. She's consumed those books, and her coaching and her attitude inside of our channels all sort of fall within those parameters. So again, think about it just like you would train an actual employee. She has the ability to build her own workout post. She also, I've given her memory, and this is something that you'll want to think about, is imagine if you had a human assistant, and every time you went to that human assistant, they couldn't remember your name, they couldn't remember what you asked them, they couldn't remember who you are. And so if you're going to build your assistant, you want to build a function that causes them to remember what happens. So as an example, I'll just use Regina. She's my co-founder. So I've told Vera who Regina is. When she sees the conversations with Regina in my email, in my Slack channel, she starts building a knowledge around who is Regina, how does she act, what is her preferences. And every time they interact, she updates a memory for Regina, and she characterizes their interaction. So if Regina was sarcastic, which she rarely is sarcastic, she's always sweet. But she's going to say, oh, Regina's always complimentary and sweet. And so she's going to respond to Vera in that Wesley's always sarcastic, right? So Wesley's going to be, this is how Wesley gets characterized. So Vera is developing this dynamic memory just like an employee would. So how do you build that? Super simple. Inside of your Claude, you're simply going to say, I'd like you to build memory for everyone you interact with. Ask me questions about this person until you get to know them. Every time you interact with them, summarize that interaction, store it in your memory. See if it contradicts anything you know in the past about them. And when you glean insights, whether it's in Slack or in email channels, start developing a supposition about who this person is. So you're just teaching your assistant how to think, and you have to give very specific instructions for it to have memory. And then you're writing a rule. You're saying every time you interact with somebody, run a search on your memory. Now, how do you keep it from just running hours and hours and hours of memory? You just create memory layers. So every interaction, you say, uh, summarize every interaction, and once a week, go back and do a top level summary of the most important things to remember about this person. That's going to be at the very top. So if Regina comes in, it only accesses the top level memory. Oh, it says Regina's a co-founder. Here's who she is. Here's what she's dealing with recently. Can I interact with Regina in this interaction with the knowledge I have? If the answer is yes, she can just respond to Regina. If not, she starts going back in her memory. So it's just like a human does. Sometimes we interact with somebody, we have to go further back in our memory. Okay. So that's how we build that. It's literally just 8 functions. It took me about 2 days to get Vera up and running well to where I liked her. It took me another month or so before I really felt like she had a handle on things and I started doing really cool things with her. So this is all built on top of a platform. I put this in the cloud. It's on a Supabase edge function. I use crons and Postgres. The connectors are all API connectors. I'm going to talk about all of those. And I have a rule set that she can never claim something is done unless it is, and she has to be able to show her proof if asked on how she knows that's actually true. And that reduced her error rate. So here's one of the things I get as well from Vera. I get a CEO daily briefing. So every morning at 4:30, she's giving me a Slack DM. And I also have a private password protected dashboard on Vercel. Last week, we talked about how to set up Vercel. If you missed that webinar, you can go back, look at the recording. But in that briefing, she's looked at my schedule. She tells me what the conflicts are. She drafts any emails waiting for my approval. She looks at all the relationships that I'm juggling at the time. She tells me who do I need to reach out to keep that relationship warm. And if there's anything unusual from a money or admin, she's going to do that. If there's anything that's aging that I've said I'm interested in resolving and I haven't done that, she's going to bring that to my attention. And then I'm going to get an audio file that I listen to when I'm doing my morning workout. So every session is narrated out loud. At the top, I can play the full briefing, and she's going to go through my inbox and she's going to go through today's meetings. For the meeting, she's already done research on who I'm meeting with. That research comes from Slack, the internet, and our CRM, and any interactions I've had with them. And then she also tells me about significant things that are upcoming in the week. So that whole thing, I get briefed on the thing in my ears, sometimes before I'm dressed. Certainly by the time I'm out of the gym, I'm fully up to date with the key areas of my business. That was V1 for me, for Vera. And then I upgraded her skills. And for each area of the company, I want a C-level view of that. So, right, I don't want to be in the weeds every day. I just want to know sort of what's going on. But let's say I notice there's an issue with our CS department. Maybe our churn's higher than it used to be. I can say, give me a deep dive every day for the next 7 days about what's happening in the CS. So I'll get the high level for everything else, but for CS, she'll dive deeper into looking at all of the recorded phone calls with clients. She'll be reviewing demos that happened with the client. She'll be looking in the Slack channel. She'll be looking at any data that's going to help me get an understanding of what might be happening there. So I've got these automations running now on autopilot. There's 8 cloud functions. They run 24/7. And importantly, I was able to do that with 0 engineers. It's something that you're going to be able to do. And in fact, I'm going to walk you through how to do exactly that here in the next little bit. So before we jump into building this, for those of you that are on this call for this webinar, you can use this code webinar 100 at the salesboss.ai. That's our website. You can scan the code. And we have a and a half day live training. We do 12 hours a day. So you get 24 hours in those 2 days. And then there's a bonus third day. You can get $100 off to attend. It's in person. Many of you that are on this call have already been there. You're going to walk away not just learning, but we're going to get in and actually build these for you. So if what we're talking about today sounds interesting, many of you just having this snapshot and what we're going to go over in the next 30 minutes, you're going to get it. You're going to understand it. For others, you might benefit from coming to a course like this and having somebody actually help you get it done. I promise once you've built it once, it will be amazing. So our general session, you're going to go the first half of the day. I think we go till 3 o'clock. And then you're dismissed. If you're a VIP, you get an extra 5 hours at the end of that day. We go till 8 o'clock at night. I know that sounds extreme, but trust me, at 8 o'clock, even after people who have showed up in the morning and said, I don't know how we're going to go 12 hours, we get at 8 p.m. and they say, can we stay another 3 hours? Our super VIP, we only take a couple of these for each session. It's 5,555. You're getting a $100 discount on that. During the super VIP, you're going to get a one-on-one half day, and you're going to have my head of marketing, operations, branding, and our dev team there with you to talk about the strategy and architect the strategy for your business. You're going to have the opportunity to build out multiple AI operators and products, and we're going to help you with a 30-day calendar to really make sure that you can have this impact in your business. I want you to think about what I've shared with you with just one product that I've built. And each member on my team has something similar for them. This ability to have somebody looking at my emails, looking at my communications, keeping my to-do list, doing quality checks on the sales call, giving that feedback. What is that worth to me as a business owner to get that done? And the beauty is you can do it once. Now, I'm a believer in humans. We have a hiring platform that's all about how do you hire great humans. But it's important now more than ever before to hire A+ humans, and you're going to strap a nuclear powered supercomputer to their back, and you're going to get out of the way, and they're going to do amazing things. The sort of things that I'm giving Vera to do are those just repeatable kinds of things that free up my people and importantly myself to think about the more important things. And I was so excited this morning. I have my international team here. They're all converging. They're here for the week. And the amount of things that we're able to get done in a day is just completely astounding. So let's talk about how do you get started with this. You want to just build your first one. You're going to build it right in the chat. Today we're going to talk about Claude Code specifically, but it works the same in every other one. I want you to pick one chore you're going to repeat every week. You're going to write the SOP just like you train a new hire. You might even go out online and say, is there a skill that somebody else has written, right? Like rip off and duplicate. You're going to put it in. Treat it like you're training a new hire. You're going to connect the tools, email, Slack, whatever she needs, he needs, and then you're going to run it live. You're going to correct it just like you would a new employee. And then after you're sure that new employee is on the right path and you've tightened things up, you're going to put it on a schedule and you're going to walk away. I want you to do just one of those this week. I would say most of you, once you do one, you're going to want to do more of them, but get it running on your computer. And then we're going to help you take that and put it in the cloud so that it runs even when your computer's closed. That enables you at any point in time on my phone, on my cell. I can just text Vera. Vera takes care of scheduling things. She can book flights for me. She can book hotels for me. All of that's now automated with Vera. So how do we get that done? Let's talk about the steps. These are the core tools that you really need in order to put Vera in the cloud. These are the exact same tools that we showed you last week in our 2-hour session, how to connect. You're going to think about it as yourself being the boss. You're going to use your AI tool. In this case, you're going to use a coding tool. I'm going to suggest that you use Claude Code. just because it's the latest, greatest right now. It's easy to use. You're also going to get GitHub and you're going to connect these. GitHub is, for those of you that aren't technical, just think of it as a vault, a file folder where everything you produce with Claude Code, a copy gets stored there. So let's say you make a mistake, you can just go back to a previous version. Just think of it as a save point. And then you're going to have Vercel, which is a product. And Vercel allows you to put everything in the cloud. You can choose a URL, you can put passwords, all of that sort of thing. And at the bottom, you're going to use a product called Supabase, which will also be connected. And the Supabase, think of it as your data, right? So if you think about a spreadsheet that has names and addresses and emails and phone numbers and how much people are paying, all of that ends up in Supabase. It's the data and the knowledge of your business. So imagine in Supabase, when I tell Vera to create a relationship record for Regina, it'll have Regina and Wesley and any other person she interacts with. And below that, every time she interacts, she's going to store some information there that she's going to be able to do. So again, Claude Code, think of it like your engineer. You're just going to talk to it. It's going to build it. It lives on your computer. GitHub, you're going to save things there. It's your vault. Just think about it like being able to take a photograph of, how is my desktop set up today? And you can always go back to do exactly that thing. Vercel is your storefront. It's where the world's going to see things. It's where you're going to interact with it. If you build something, this is where you can give it to your team. So when you've created say a project management tool, or as an example, when I listen to my morning briefing, that all happens on Vercel. And then Supabase, again, is where all that data lives. So last week, we set that up. The other thing for you to be aware of, and again, to build V1, you can just do it on your computer. I promise you, though, Vera's not going to help you long-term unless you put her in the cloud. So this is what it looks like then in the cloud. You have your app that you've built. That's on Vercel. You have your storage where everything's being kept, customers, jobs, replies, payments. The other thing you need to know how to do is to connect your app to different models. So remember, we talked about the connectors inside of Claude. So here you've got your connectors. You've connected all of your connectors. Here's my auto travel. That's what I use. If you haven't got a good travel agent yet, use auto travel. There's a plug for them. I don't get paid anything. The problem is Claude is connected on my computer to those tools. When I move Claude to the cloud, or I move Vera to the cloud, not Claude, I move Vera to the cloud, right? Vera's living in Claude, but when I move her out of the house and I put her in the cloud, she's still got to have access to all those things. So how am I going to do that? The way I'm going to do that is I've already mapped, right, what she does there, but I have to make the connection. Inside of Claude, when you make a connection, they call that an MCP connection. Most of you have probably heard that. MCP. It's a model context. Forget what the last P is for. Somebody. Protocol. Model context protocol. It just says, here's how we work together. When you move Vera to the cloud, you move her out, you have to connect to an API. So you're simply going to, in your Claude, say, Claude, I need to connect my Google email by API to my product, to my Vera, if you name your product Vera or whatever you name it. And Claude's going to walk you through how to do that. Think of an API as a passkey. It's usually going to have a long secret string that looks something like this, where I'm at the bottom, SK live. That string gets posted in the cloud, and it's like the keys to the kingdom. Now Vera can unlock and get into your Google account. She can unlock, get into your Stripe account. She can unlock and get into whatever else you give it to her. So that's a secret key. Obviously, you don't want to give it away. You don't want to put it directly in your ChatGPT or your Claude. You're going to put your keys directly into Vercel, or into Supabase. So the only place you ever put your keys is down here in the vault. Sometimes you can get right into Vercel and do it, but you're never going to paste it directly into Claude. That's like leaving your credit card on a counter in a busy bus stop. You don't want to do it. All right. So that's how you wire these up. Let me show you specifically then. Mm, 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 mm. There we go. Let me show you specifically how I built Vera. So this is Vera. I scrolled all the way back. You can see, I see my scroll wheel way up here. You can see all of that is how I built Vera. I did have other channels, so there's pages and pages like that. But here's where I started. And this is literally where I started. So if you have Claude up and running now, I would open it. And I would go down, and if you haven't yet, go down to the plus sign, and I would go down to your connectors, and I would connect. Oh, see, there we go. I'm not connected here. I'm connected up there. I'm not going to do it now because I no longer do it through here. You're going to connect your mail account there. The second thing you want to do when you're working here is this button here where it says bypass permissions. Notice there's levels there going from manual all the way to bypass permissions. So when you're first starting out and you're not sure what you want to do, I would go to at least, I would probably start at manual. And what manual means is you're going to ask Claude to do something like connect my Gmail account. It's going to pull it up. It's going to show you what it's going to do. And it's going to say, are you sure? Are you okay? Do you really want me to do that? And then you're going to say yes, right? Eventually, you go to plan and you can say, hey, give me the next 10 steps. I'm going to look at those next 10 steps and I'm going to approve all of those. You can do auto, which is going to allow it to do some of those tasks, even destructive tasks by itself, or a lot of the tasks other than destructive tasks. And then bypass permission is like giving a hall pass to an employee, letting them do whatever you want. You're giving them the checkbook, right? You're completely trusting. So I run on bypass permissions because I'm comfortable using it. You're going to get there quickly, but I would just start back. And you're going to start with something like this, which is what I did for Vera. Okay, here's what I'd like to do. I'd like to build a skill together that teaches you how to manage my inbox and schedule. Go ahead and scan through my inbox and get a sense of how things are currently handled. Look at my calendar, pretend you're my executive assistant and you'd like to help me maximize the use of my time efficiently while maintaining good relationship. Ask me as many questions as you can and propose things to start this relationship. One of the things I think I'll need to do is to host this in the cloud because I need this to work even when I'm not, even when I'm not online. And so I'm just telling my thought. And now you notice the box pulls up, says how much sending authority should I have? Right? It asks Lane because there saw a lot of Lane in my inbox. So I just choose. And then when should it go? It shows some of the drafts, shows some of the proposals of where to do things, right? So you're just going to continue to go through and teach Vera through Claude, how do you want to do that? So I'm going to drop the in the chat that prompt. If anybody wants to copy and paste it, I think you can. Oh, nope, that won't work. That didn't work at all. Okay, I can't copy and paste in that prompt. So, all right, I'm going to stop there. And let's drop questions in the chat. Anybody have any chat? Anybody already built an assistant? Got one up and running? You got an assistant, say, I have an assistant, and list sort of some of the things you have them doing. Everybody's quiet. Scott, do you have an assistant built? No, not yet. All right. So let's go ahead and I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. I thought I did. Sorry. All right. So let's go ahead and just connect your Gmail or Outlook and your calendar and name your assistant. And tell her to go out and look at your inbox and create rules for how you normally handle your inbox. Building Ben as we speak. All right. And we've got an elastic Ella. Love it, love it. So I find it helpful to start thinking of your assistant as a real person that you interact with. Why? Not because, I'm not a big believer in the be nice to AI because someday they're going to rule the world. I'm thinking of my AI as a human because it causes me to think, how would I normally explain this task? What would be important for them to have? Again, it's just being able to set the patterns. All right. Drop your questions. If you're connected to your email now, just drop in the chat connected. That way I know we're making progress. All right, Will, good, connected. Latoya, Assistant Denise, runs through the email, organizes my tasks, ranks them, calls me in the morning for a brief, sends me an update at 7 so I can map out my next day. Awesome. So while you're doing that, I'm going to give you a couple of rules on how to think about your assistant. Now, remember, your assistant's going to live with you on your computer for the first weeks of her life or his life, depending on your preference. They're only going to work in your computer, on your computer. Perfect them there. Make sure they're working. You can give them guidance. What I tend to do, this is just a workflow thing that works for me, is while I'm training something and it needs a lot of my attention, I tend to keep them up. And you notice on the left here on my Claude code, uh, I put folders. So I have workflows and anything that I'm needing to touch and I'm actively working on goes there. So I look at those every morning. And then you'll also notice if you do a new task, it's going to show you sessions that need input, right? So you can see Vera yesterday did something here that needs input, right? So I can just go directly to that and I can say allow once, and you can see it's on manual. That's what happened. It got done. So now she'll run herself again. Right. I can go up and that's how I keep things there. This needs input. For some reason, it keeps getting set to manual. There you go. And that becomes my routine in the morning to clean that up. So once you've got Vera running locally in your house, in your office, on your computer, I tend to start with write my emails and save them as a draft. So in the morning, I'll go in, I'll just review the drafts, I'll hit send, or I'll edit them and hit send. Directly after I do that, I go back into my same chat with Vera and I say, Vera, I just sent my emails and I approved your drafts. Go in and review the changes I made and tell me why you think I made those changes. What's that accomplish? It's the same thing I would do with a real human assistant. She would draft my emails. I would make the changes and I'd want her to understand why I did that. So she's going to make an assumption. And then I'm going to say, yes, you made the correct assumption or you made an incorrect assumption. You're starting to teach your AI how to learn. Remember, AI is simply a pattern recognition engine. That's all it does. It recognizes patterns. So the more you give her the opportunity to see your patterns as a leader, as an operator, how you run your business, the more she's going to be able to make correct assumptions about new projects that they do on your behalf. And it'll require less and less training from you. In fact, I would say at some point you're going to be surprised when your assistant does something and you're like, wait, I never said you could do that or should do that. And yet you 100% agree with what was done. And you'll get there very quickly. All right, I'm going to open it up for questions and then we're going to end just a few minutes early. All right, no questions. Either people are so into building and they're overwhelmed, or I don't know. All right, last secret. When you're building, I want you to, because you know Vera's living in your office and you're going to send her off to college, you're going to move her to the cloud. When you give her a skill and you connect her to a tool, I want you to always ask, is this skill available through an API connection? Why? Because there might be an MCP connection and she can use that tool on your computer, but as soon as you move her off to college, she'd lose access to it. So you always want to start building with this idea that she's going to live in the cloud. So I set a rule early on. I only want you to select tools that have an API connection. So as an example, because I knew Vera would be managing travel for me, I chose auto travel because not only did it have an MCP server connection, which I could test with and decide I liked it before I built a lot of things, it also has an API connection. So when I moved Vera off to college, she could still call up through the API and still manage my flights for me. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay, give me a thumbs up if that makes sense. All right. Great, great, great. All right. So hopefully you have your guides. That'll help you get started. I'd like to hear as we um, close things out, give our thanks to our sponsor for the day. And our sponsor, of course, is Who Hire, our company that makes all of this possible. Who Hire is our AI platform that helps you hire smarter, grow faster. We have a prediction engine on our platform that helps you predict before you hire somebody, how likely are they to fit the role and how long are they likely to stay around. We're de-risking the investment that you're going to make, making sure that you hire the right person. And it is built specifically for companies who are committed to building A+ teams. If you want a strategy call, feel free to respond to any of the emails that you got to be invited to this, or go to whohire.com, schedule a demo meeting there. We can walk you through it. And finally, if you're learning, love for you if you could give us a shout out on social media. You can follow me at Jonathan Wistman. I'm posting content all of the time there for you, trying to grow my social media following. But if you found it valuable, sign up, come to our event. I think we still have room in, when's the next availability we have, Lenka?
In September.
In September. So they go quick. We just do 2 days, once a month. It's 2.5 days. So you reserve that at the salesboss.ai. That coupon code webinar 100 stays up for today only. And then it goes dark until our next webinar. At the salesboss.ai, you can also find our upcoming webinar where you can continue to improve your skills utilizing AI. Thanks for attending today. I wish you a good week, and we'll see you on our next session.